Alright, let's do a quick one here on what's wrong with the new Rolling Stones album, Hackney Diamonds. But before I get into that, I'd just like to remind you to like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of the content, because it updates basically every day. And if you look down below in the description, you can see links to other content that's not appropriate for YouTube because of copyright and other issues. Click over there and here's some things that you won't be able to get here. Alright, so here's what I want to talk about with Hackney Diamonds. It's a great Rolling Stones album. It's unbelievable in certain respects at how good it is, and it's remarkably consistent with what they've done over the past 3 or 4 decades. And the lead single, Angry, it's a good song, and it's a real nice up-tempo gesture, and it's got some R&B influence to it. But for me, the best song on the album is Mess It Up, which has some of that true old Rolling Stones feeling to it, but comes with a new veneer, so to speak. And it's that veneer I kind of want to talk about here with what's wrong with Hackney Diamonds. And when I'm doing this video, consider it to be a bit it's a great album, and I don't want to do another review where it's just, well, what a great album for the Rolling Stones, what an incredible achievement for a band in their age. That's easy to say. What I'd like to do is kind of pick out the points where I feel the album's a little bit weak. And in this respect, it doesn't really differ that much from other Rolling Stones albums. They don't generally put together albums that hold together from end to end. They haven't been able to do that since the end of the Mick Taylor era, in my opinion. Black and Blue and Emotional Rescue and Tattoo You, Voodoo Lounge, none of them, Bigger Bang, none of them hold together song for song. They have some strong points and some weak points. The same is true for Hackney Diamonds. So I would say that's the first point. The first mark against it is that it's another one of those Rolling Stones albums where it's hit and miss, very much in the true spirit of the band, which kind of goes along with the title. Now, the second point that I want to mention that kind of bothers me about the album is the production. And I'm not going to do a deep dive on Andrew Watt. I'm not going to go into a whole thing here about the production because that would take a long time to explain. I'm just going to touch here briefly about what I don't like about it. So one thing that I don't like about it is that whether it's due to the loss of Charlie Watts or due to the fact that Andrew Watt had such a heavy hand on this album, there is a loss of that swinginess to the Rolling Stones, that uneven edge in the background, that unsteadiness that's like on the point of a razor all the time. And this is a trademark Rolling Stones thing that came as much from their production method as from the actual sound of the band. So to give you an illustration of what I'm talking about, if you go back and listen to something like Moonlight Mile, it's extremely polished from a production standpoint, especially from the era in which it was made, but it also has this driving, almost unsteady, chaotic side to it underneath that's pushing it along. You don't really get that so much on this one. What you get is an attempt to mimic it, an attempt to sound like it, but the album is just, to my ears, is a bit overproduced and a bit too polished. And this brings me to my third and final point about a weakness for the album, which is that it is through and through a pop album. And it does have a blues song on it, and it's got a blues cover on it, in fact, Rolling Stone blues. It has a couple other kind of almost punkish sides, Bite My Head Off, and it has rock and roll elements, But to be honest, this is one of the poppiest Rolling Stones albums they've ever made. It is, for lack of a better term, a commercial effort, which is, in its own way is a rebellious act given the state of the music industry now. So if you put those three elements together, that it's rather down a familiar lane of hit and miss with the Stones, the production is not, to my ears, a good fit for the band, and third of all, that it is a strictly pop album, those are the only digs I really have against it. I could go make a video now 3 times as long as this one telling you what I like about it, but those are the 3 weaknesses in it, and I think that those weaknesses will hold up over time. In other words, they'll still be there over time. The production's always going to sound a bit off, the songs are a mixed bag, and the pop element of it is going to cause it to sound just a little bit dated in the future. And but for all that, it is an incredibly good album, and I encourage you to go listen to it. This is what I think. If you have any ideas about this or other topics connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop them in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.